Welcome everyone to the Global AI Bootcamp Pune 2022. The title of this talk is Building Intelligent Enterprise Grade Help Dashboard using Conversational AI. Who am I? My name is Prashant Bhoyar. I was born and raised in India. I know majority of the folks joining us today are from Pune area. So I grew up in a city called Nagpur, and I did work in Pune back in 2005, 2006, and in 2007 I came to United States to do the masters. So I graduated from University of Maryland College Park. And ever since I graduated, I'm working in the same area. I co-authored a book, PowerShell for Office 65. Acted as a technical reviewer for the book Pro SharePoint 2013 Administration. So I'm from Washington, D.C. area of United States. And pre-COVID-19 pandemic, we used to organize a lot of in-person community conferences. Ever since the pandemic has started, we have converted all our conferences to virtual only. So you can join us from anywhere in the world. We typically post the latest and greatest information about upcoming conferences on azurecloudevents.com. And there also you will see the link to our YouTube channel. And we also post information about upcoming user group meetings and conferences on meetup.com as well. I am recipient of Antarctic Service Medal. I got this award from US government for the work I did in Antarctic continent back in 2008. I am also recipient of Microsoft MVP award since 2017. Those of you who are not familiar with this award, so I don't work for Microsoft. It's just the additional recognition that Microsoft gives out to the folks who does technical contributions. And these technical contributions can be in the form of speaking at conferences, contributing to the open source project, answering people questions on various public forums, providing direct support, direct feedback to the Microsoft product group, or creating training content and posting those for free on various streaming services. And this award is valid for only 1 year. And after 1 year, you have to submit your contributions. And if your contributions are good enough, then Microsoft will give you this award for additional 1 year. So for first couple of years, I was an MVP in Office 65 apps and services, especially in SharePoint. And since 2019, I changed my category to AI. So right now I work as cloud solution architect with Applied Information Sciences. So Applied Information Sciences has offices in USA, Canada, UK, and India. And there I focus on intelligent business process automation. So most of my career, I work on automation projects. And there I have used variety of the products and services in Microsoft ecosystem, such as Azure AI, bots, Microsoft Power Platform, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, Teams, and core Azure services as well. And I work at AIS headquarters, which is near Washington, D.C., and the name of the city is Reston and the state is Virginia. So uh, AIS as a company is providing services in Microsoft ecosystem from last 40 years. And AIS is well recognized in Microsoft ecosystem. We have been recipient of Microsoft Partner of the Year on multiple occasions in multiple product categories. And AIS is growing. We have a lot of openings in USA, Canada, and in UK. But some of the openings I would like to highlight is from our India office, where we are looking for a senior AI and machine learning engineer, and you can be located anywhere in the India. If you are interested, just send a resume to this particular email address, or you can also contact me on LinkedIn, or I will be sharing my email address as well, and you can share your resume with me as well. So let's talk about this talk. So we will start with why we should seriously consider bots when it comes to the enterprise help desk. Then, if you are interested in rolling out bots in your organization, then what are some of the options available to us? We'll talk about Microsoft Bot Framework, Power Virtual Agents. We'll also talk about Dataverse for Teams, Azure Bot Service, how to get started with all these different technologies that we have. We also talk about what are Microsoft Congress services. We'll have demos, key takeaways, and Q&A. Even though I mentioned Q&A towards the end, feel free to ask your questions in the chat window or unmute yourself. I'm using two monitors here, so I'll be periodically monitoring the chat window. So before we jump into solving a particular problem for enterprises, I always have this slide in my talk says, remember, technology tools does not matter, problem solving does. What does that mean is whether you're using Microsoft Bot Framework, Power Virtual Agent, it doesn't matter. What you're doing with that and what kind of problem you're solving in the enterprises, that matters the most. So before we jump into the bots, it's really, really important to understand where we are as a society or as a humanity in terms of AI. Because the general expectation is any kind of AI initiative will launch, we kind of expect that that initiative or that application will work as seamless as or as good as we humans typically perform. Uh, so this is the definition of AI I got from Google's AI researcher Francois Cholet. Is an effort to automate intellectual tasks normally performed by humans. And AI can be categorized into three categories. One is the strong AI, where machines are so powerful, or AI is so powerful, it can invade other planets, it can destroy other planets. And this is kind of thing we typically think about whenever we imagine or we talk about AI. Like when I started exploring AI, the first thought that came into my mind was the Skynet in the Terminator movie franchise. So strong AI right now exists only in sci-fi movies and novels. Then there is a second category called artificial general intelligence, where machines are very, very powerful. They can perform really, really complicated tasks, which is typically difficult for an average human being. One of the example I can give you here is if you have seen Marvel Comics franchise called Iron Man, there is a main character called Tony Stark, and Tony has his personal assistant called Jarvis. And Jarvis is very intelligent. He can perform really complicated tasks, and Jarvis falls under AGI. Again, AGI right now exists in sci-fi movies and novels. Where we are right now is we are at weak AI, where we have specialized services for specialized tasks. Now, one of the service that you're seeing on the screen is I'm speaking is a real-time speech to text. So I'm speaking in English, and the service that is available with Microsoft PowerPoint is translating that text, that speech into the text and outputting on the screen. And if I go back to the Microsoft PowerPoint settings, I can change this language to another language as well. For example, since majority of the attendees today are coming from India, so let's go ahead and select Hindi here and see if this translation is really working or not. So I will be speaking in English, and let me know like by thumbs up whether the translation you are seeing on the screen, which is getting displayed in Hindi, is fairly accurate or not. And again, the accuracy here will be 85 to 90%. It won't be 100% because the services are getting much better, but still they are not, let's say, 100% a match. Let me go back and change back the subtitles to English here. So this is very, very important to understand. Like we as a human society are at weak AI, and our goal is to go from weak AI to AGI and from AGI to strong AI. And the biggest obstacle we have right now is the processing power. The more processing power we will have, the faster it is to make our journey from weak AI to AGI and from AGI to the strong AI. So this is the mission statement from Microsoft. They would like to make AI and data science accessible to everyone. It doesn't matter what role you are, what is your role, what kind of device you're using, and where you are located. And some of the services that are coming from Microsoft quite align really well with this mission statement. So the core services or core AI services in Microsoft ecosystem are part of Azure AI. Under scenario-based services, we have bot service. Then we have cognitive services, cognitive search. We have form recognizer, video analyzer, metrics advisor, and immersive reader. And under customizable AI models or cognitive services, we have vision, speech, language, decision, and open AI. And if you would like to build your own machine learning model, then Azure Machine Learning is for you. Now, as I mentioned, Azure AI is the core AI services in Microsoft ecosystem, and also Azure AI is the first party service as well. What is the first party mean is not only we can use it, but internally Microsoft different product groups also uses the same services that are available to us. Like in the next slide, you will see Like you may be familiar with Microsoft Power Platform, where we have a Power Virtual Agent and AI Builder. And under Microsoft 365, we have SharePoint Syntax. Now, these services also gives us some AI capabilities, and behind the scene, they also uses Azure AI services. If you are new to the AI offerings in Microsoft ecosystem, these are some of the links can definitely help you to get started with it. And if you're totally new, I heard these questions when I started exploring AI services in Microsoft ecosystem back in 2016 and 17. Is like when to use what, because there are so many services out there, and I was just totally confused and lost. Okay, which one shall I pick depending on my skill level? So this flowchart can help you is what you would like to do, whether you would like to build your own machine learning model, if and you would like to get your hands dirty with data science and machine learning, then Azure Machine Learning and corresponding tooling is for you. If you are like me, who's more interested in the applied AI side, where you don't want to get your hands dirty with machine learning and data science, but you would like to use pre-built AI services, then cognitive services and bots are for you. Now let's see why a bot. Let's now talk about why we have to seriously think about using bots in the enterprise space. So bots provide us more natural human-computer interaction, and it can also help us to automate a lot of repetitive tasks and free up the resources. Bots can be available all the time. They can also available depending on where you are, as long as you use the right technology to build your bot. And also, bot can adapt to the user depending on the circumstances. However, the number one use case or number one thing that I really see why the usage of bots is getting increased in the enterprise space is because it helps us to automate repetitive tasks and free up the resources. Now, we are going through the COVID-19 pandemic right now. It's almost 2 years. I don't like no. I never thought like this pandemic would last for this many months or this many years. But just go back 2 years or maybe 20 months, March 2020, where suddenly majority of the organization in the world they had to announce that everyone is going to be working remotely. Now that was a really, really chaotic time for everyone. But guess what? The number one department who has horrible time during that particular 2 or 3 weeks period was IT department in each and every company. Like some companies were ready for remote work, but majority of the companies were not. And the people who were working in that IT department, they struggled the most because first they had to navigate a difficult situation at their home. If they have kids or if they have other family members, then they have to navigate like how to get their work done by working home. On the top of that, they also have to support their employee base. And if their employee base is not that technical, then they have to support them as well, navigating difficulties like how to connect to the VPN or how to use their laptop or how to use their machine at home. And that's where a lot of enterprises then started exploring virtual agent to help their IT help desk professional, where the virtual agents or bot will be handling the first line of will be acting as the first line of defense, and they will be taking care of some simple issues. And if the issue is complicated, then that issue will get escalated to the actual human agent. Bots are also appealing, efficient, easy, and natural. And if its implementation is done right, it simplifies the user experience. And and also, if you use the right technology to create the bot, then bot can also support multiple channels. Now, channels in the context of bot is different as compared to channels that we get in the context of Microsoft Teams. Now, channels in the context of bot means I can build a bot and same bot or virtual agent I can then use across multiple devices or multiple services. And bot may also help you to connect with the young users as well. So we as the society is already familiar with bots in our personal life. Like if you are using Google Home or Alexa or Cortana or Siri, then you are already using a voice-based bot. If let's say if you are a customer of a major financial institution, for example, Citibank or HSBC Bank or Bank of America, and if you call their customer service number, chances are their first line of defense is always going to be a voice-based bot. And that bot will ask you some questions, and depending on your answer, that bot will give you some information, or it may redirect your call to the actual human agent. Now, if you're serious about implementing bots in your organization, and if you would like to go with Microsoft technologies, then these two options are available to us. Under Platform as a Service, we have Microsoft Bot Framework. It is an open source SDK and tools, and it is built for custom bot development. It's ideal for developers. Like, you need to be a developer to use Microsoft Bot Framework. Right now, four major languages are supported. We can use C Sharp, Node.js, Java, and Python. However, if you would like to use Azure Bot Service to host your bot, then only C Sharp and Node.js is supported. What does that mean is, if I use Python or Java to build my custom bot using Microsoft Bot Framework, I have to host that bot somewhere else. I cannot use Azure Bot Service for that. Under Software as a Service, we have PowerVirtual Agent. It provides you a no-code experience for bot development. It's ideal for the target audience is pretty much everyone. Like, anyone can go and start creating bots without writing a single line of code. And behind the scene, it still uses the Microsoft Bot Framework and other Azure AI services. But you, as a creator of the bot, don't have to worry about the services at all. And you can go to this link to find more information about the Power Virtual Agent. There is another tool called Microsoft Bot Framework Composer. I know we have a session, and Vinod is going to be covering the Bot Framework Composer in detail. But what it is in a nutshell, it's an available to us as a desktop and web application. And we can use Bot Framework Composer with not only with Microsoft Bot Framework, but we can also use it with Power Virtual Agent. And we can create quickly the sophisticated bots. And you can go to this link to find more information about Bot Framework Composer. There is a new offering, not so new, maybe 14 months before Microsoft announced a new offering called Microsoft Dataverse for Teams. It's a low-code data platform available for Microsoft Teams. And one of the advantage of this is it allows us to create a low-code, no-code app flows, but most importantly, chatbots that will only work within the context of the team. Now, you may be wondering why I'm talking about a Dataverse for Teams in a conference focused on AI and machine learning. And there is a reason for it. So the license for Dataverse for Team is already included as part of most of the existing team licenses. What does that mean is, if I have a valid Microsoft Teams license, and through that license, if I can access Microsoft Dataverse for Teams, that means I can create virtual agents using Power Virtual Agents for free, with only caveat that virtual agent will only work within Microsoft Teams client. And just like with any other free service, of course, this will come with some some limitations, but it's a really good way of starting with your journey with bots development. In case your organization does not have a subscription to Azure, or you don't want to sign up for the standalone version of Power Virtual Agent, which is a little bit on the expensive side when it comes to its pricing. There is a really good integration story available between these two options. Let's say you have a Fusion team, and some people develop custom bot using Microsoft Bot Framework, and some people develop custom bot using Power Virtual Agent. Those bots can interact with each other using something called Bot Framework Skill. Again, to use Bot Framework Skill, you will need access. You will need to have access to Azure, and you will need to deploy your bot as a skill to the Azure to have that integration. Power Virtual Agent is the latest member in Microsoft Power Platform. And those of you who are totally new to the Microsoft Power Platform, it's a low-code platform that spans across Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, Azure, and standalone application. And we use Power Virtual Agent to create intelligent virtual agents or bot. It sits on the top of the pyramid. As I mentioned, Microsoft Power Platform and Microsoft 365, they use this Azure AI as a first-party services. That means a lot of things, like a lot of AI services are actually built on the top of Azure AI services. So same is the case with Power Virtual Agent as well. So it is built using Azure Bot Service. It is using a lot of cognitive services behind the scene, and it has a really good integration with other Microsoft Power Platform products like Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power BI. And the gateway to the outside world from Power Virtual Agent is the Power Automate. And those of you who are familiar with Power Automate, via Power Automate, we can connect to more than 300 different we have more than 300 connectors, and those connectors are for other Microsoft services, some third-party SaaS services. You can also build a custom connector where if you have a legacy system in-house and you would like to expose that system via Power Automate, you can build a custom connector, and using that connector, you can then integrate your LOB system or line of business system with Power Automate. So that means if I have access to Power Virtual Agent via Power Automate, I can talk to any system that is available to us, and that system can be in Microsoft, or that can be even a third-party SaaS system, or you can your custom proprietary legacy system as well. And behind the scene, it uses all the cognitive services, but you as a creator of the bot doesn't have to worry about it at all. And you will get this kind of graphical user interface. I will not be showing you a big demo of Power Virtual Agent. I'll be focusing more on the other services, but it's a really easy tool to get started. You will have this nice UI where you can start implementing your business logic. And within this designer itself, we can test the bot. And there are some other functionalities available. For example, how to publish the bot. Then you'll see the analytics about your bot, and you can, using the manage option, you can then see configure some security settings and some sharing settings as well. And you can go to this link to try more about the Power Virtual Agent. Now the data hours for teams, we can do pretty much the exact same thing when it comes to creating the bot and testing the bot. Only change this time will be is you will be doing everything inside the Microsoft Team client. And the bot that you will be developing will be only available inside the Microsoft Teams client. Before we go into the Microsoft Bot Framework, let's see if there are any questions or comments in the chat window. Looks like no questions so far. Okay. Again, you can also unmute yourself if you have any specific question. I see a comment from Dennis regarding the statement I made regarding how we as a human society is aiming to go from weak AI to AGI and from AGI to strong AI. See, even if we know the evils of AI, the human society will not stop. We will definitely try to grow from weak AI to AGI and from AGI to strong AI. So let's talk about. Okay, so the question is from when to use Power Platform or Bot Framework. I will come to that particular topic later part of the talk, but that's a really excellent question. And not only you, but a lot of people have this question is when to use what, like when shall I use Bot Framework versus when shall I use the Power Virtual Agent. So let's talk about Microsoft Bot Framework. So Microsoft Bot Framework, as I mentioned, is an open source SDK and tools. And you will be using that to create your custom bot. That means your code, if you have to visualize this, you will be a developer who will be using Bot Builder SDK, and you will be writing your code here. And if I had to oversimplify the entire process, then a bot is nothing but a website with a different kind of user interface. And that, again, that is oversimplification of the bot. But just in your professional life, if you have created a website, then the same kind of concept goes while creating a bot as well. That means you need to find a host where that bot will be running. You have to add the custom code for that. And what in this particular bot web service, then you can integrate with other line of business system. And those line of business system can be in Azure or in your own data centers. And then your bot will be constantly exchanging with the messages with the users. And your users can access that bot using multiple channels. Like, for example, they can use the web chat, they can use email, Skype, Slack, Telegram, Twilio, Direct Line, Microsoft Teams, and the list goes on and on. And as I mentioned, a bot is nothing but a website. And if you really want to create an intelligent bot, then you have to integrate some AI services with it. Again, Microsoft AI services, for example, cognitive services are recommended, but you can also bring your own AI services. In case you are not a Microsoft shop, you have access to AWS or Google. Google or Microsoft or AWS or IBM also has similar AI services which you can integrate within your custom bot. So But adding AI service is really, really important. Without adding AI service, your bot will not be an intelligent bot. And once your bot is ready, you can deploy that to multiples of channels. And again, I would definitely recommend you to check the latest and greatest information about channels on Microsoft documentation, because this list keep on the list gets updated quite frequently. Now, if I'm writing a bot using Microsoft Bot Framework, then that brings me to an interesting question. Where shall I host that bot? So this is again my recommendation. Your thoughts or your thinking may vary. So I recommend that if you're writing a bot and if you're fine with using either C Sharp or Node.js, then go with Azure Bot Service, because that's where you will get maximum integration with other Microsoft products and other Azure services. For some reason, if you cannot use Azure Bot Service, then only option you have is host the bots in the VMs, and that VMs can be in Azure or any other public cloud, or you can also host that in on-premise server as well. So we have seen some implementation where the client was not ready to use any of the public cloud offering, and they were also using the SharePoint on-premise. So we actually use the SharePoint on-premise farm to host the custom bot in the same servers where the SharePoint farm was located. And this is the typical flowchart you will be following whenever you are creating a custom bot. Again, bot development is fairly new, and the majority of the time you'll be spending is in the planning phase and in the evaluate phase. In the planning phase, you will be finalizing the experience, what kind of dialogues you will be showing, and depending on the input from the user, what kind of information the bot will be showing, and you have to like do your entire visualization. Then you will start the building phase where you will be using Bot Builder SDK. And then to add intelligence to your bot, you will be using cognitive services. There are some templates available that can help you to get started really quickly. Then there is a really good tool available called a Bot Framework Emulator. It's an open source tool and cross-platform, which we can use to test your bot locally. That means I can start writing my custom bot and I can test my bot on my same machine. I don't have to deploy that to a web host before that. Then to add the telemetry information, application insights is recommended. But if you don't want to use application insight, you can also use your own proprietary telemetry solution as well. And then once your bot is ready, then you will deploy that to either Azure or to your own web host. And then you will connect your bot to various channels. And then the last phase is you'll constantly monitoring the performance of the bot, and depending on the performance, then you will be constantly making changes, and the cycle will continue. Now, when it comes to using Microsoft Bot Framework, there are a couple of ways you can create your custom bot. And again, these are my personal thoughts. Your experience or your recommendation may vary. So I always recommend is if you for sure know that you are going to host your bot in Azure Bot Service, then start at Azure portal first, configure your bot there first, and then download the source code and start implementing the customization. If you're not going to use Azure Bot Service, then the only option available to you is start development locally on your machine, and then deploy it to the VMs of your choice. Let's see if any questions so far. Nope. All right. So as I mentioned, if you really want to add intelligence to your bot, then you have to integrate AI services. Now, one of the options available to us is we can use pre-trained AI services from Microsoft called Cognitive Services. Cognitive services are nothing but a REST-based API, and all you need to use Cognitive services is the endpoint URL and your subscription key. And once you have that, then you can use that with any application or any language or any platform of your choice, as long as the application, language, or platform allows you to consume a REST-based API. Okay, there's a question, why is bots under AI, but is it not AI if you don't add cognitive services, AI services? I'll come to that question, Denny, in a bit. Now, cognitive services are pre-trained services from Microsoft. That means they have already used machine learning models, their proprietary machine learning models to train these cognitive services. And they also use the extensive set of data to train these services. And some of the machine learning models that Microsoft is using for cognitive services is actually product of Microsoft Research. Now, not many people know, but Microsoft Research is doing phenomenal job in the field of AI from last 20 years. So there's a lot of good literature available on GitHub, on Microsoft documentation. And if you have any questions regarding this cognitive services, you can post them on Stack Overflow as well. Now, under cognitive services, we have a lot of services. But when it comes to creation of the bot, these 6 or 7 services get used quite a lot. For example, language understanding intelligence service, Azure Search, Q&A Maker, Bing Speech API, Speaker Recognition API, Translator, and Custom Speech Service. With that, we are now going to the demo section of this talk. But with that, let me quickly do a time check. All right. All right. So let's go back to the question that we have before we jump into the demo. So Dennis asked the question, why is bot under AI, but is it not AI if you don't add cognitive services, AI services? So again, let me go back to my slide. I think that slide was here. Okay, that slide is about, okay, this one. So this is a really good example. So when it comes to marketing, Microsoft, this may not be, okay, this is good. And then I will go to the second slide as well. When it comes to the marketing of AI, Microsoft tried to combine bots within AI services as well. And they are also right about it. But when you start creating a bot, let's say I create a Hello World bot, or if I create an Echo bot, that bot will not have any kind of intelligence at all. And again, I'm talking in the context of Microsoft Bot Framework, not in the context of PowerVirtual Agent. Because when you start using PowerVirtual Agent, that bot is already integrated with other AI services in Microsoft ecosystem behind the scene. But if you create a custom bot or a Hello World bot, and then unless you add a support to, unless you add AI services in that bot will not be intelligent. It will be, if you really want to build some business logic in it, then all you had to do is you had to write like maybe 100 or 200 or maybe thousands of lines of if else statement. If the condition is this, then do that, or if the condition is this, then do this particular operation. But that's not really AI kind of or machine learning kind of intelligence. So if you really want to have a sophisticated bot which is using AI services, then you have to use cognitive services for that. That's why I said a bot out of the box, especially if I'm using Microsoft Bot Framework, is not going to be an intelligent bot unless I add AI services to it. Then there is another question. Yes, I will be sharing this PPT after the talk. Okay, Kunj added okay, the comment here. All right. How to infuse AIs? Okay, so Janardhan is asking how to infuse AIs, or you're talking about AI. I'm sure you're talking about AI here, right? Okay, I'll be covering that during the demo section. All right. Okay, so Dushyant Singh is asking about Q&A Maker portal. So it looks like Dushyant Singh is already has access to my PowerPoint and he knows what I'm going to cover next. So I'm going to cover next this Q&A Maker service, and when I create the bot, then the entire thing will be clear to you. So with that, let me go to my browser. And again, if you are using 2 screens, you can follow these steps along with me as well, as long as you have a valid Azure subscription. So use your favorite search engine and use your favorite browser and just search for Microsoft Q&A Maker. Or before that, let's do a quick overview of Microsoft Cognitive Services. So here, the link we are looking for is Azure Cognitive Services. And if you scroll down, These cognitive services are categorized into 4 categories, and by default, speech is selected. And under speech, we have speech to text, text to speech, speech translation, and speaker recognition. Under language, we have entity recognition, sentiment analysis, question answering, conversational language understanding, translator. Under vision, we have computer vision, custom vision, and face API. And under decision, we have anomaly detector, content moderator, and personalizer. Now, if I go back to the language, and if I go to the question answering, which is the new name for the Q&A maker service. So here I will be saying the detailed information about that service, what exactly the service does, some pricing information, and some a sample guide as well. So if you would like to follow the demos, what I will recommend is just Google or Bing Microsoft Q&A maker here. And the URL that we are looking for is this one. And once you open this URL, just click on the sign in at the top. And again, you can sign up for the service for free. Or if you have Azure subscription, then just use that to sign in. All right. Can you see my screen, and can you see like what am I sharing right now? Or the sharing has stopped?
Prashant, we are able to see.
Okay, all right. All right, so let's log in here. And once you log in, the first thing we have to do is we have to create a knowledge base. And the way the knowledge base work is if you have any existing information available in the form of FAQs, then you can use that. Let's take example of IT help desk. Now, if your organization is maintaining a good information of frequently asked questions or frequently occurring issues and their resolution, and if that information is in the form of Excel file or in the form of OneNote file or Word document, or in the form of a wiki or in your intranet site, you can use that, reuse that information and create a knowledge base from it. So the first step is going to be 5-step process, which is pretty straightforward. So let's do that. So first thing is we'll do is we have to create the Q&A maker service. Again, to use this, you will need access to Azure. Any kind of cognitive service that you would like to use, you will need access to the Azure. So select the right subscription here, and then select the user resource group and give it a name. So let's call it as Global AI Back Together, Global AI Bootcamp 2022, and just add Pune. And the pricing tier. Pretty much most of the services in Azure or in Azure AI or cognitive services will come with a free tier. Or with only one caveat, you can use that free tier of service once per subscription. So if someone else hasn't used that service in your subscription, you can use that. So I will be going with F0 in this case, which is free tier. Then for Azure search location, again, I'll be selecting the same geographical location where majority of my users are going to be. And I will be again going with the free tier, which is F. And for the website location, the same location I'll be selecting where majority of my users are. And same thing I'll be going is same geographical location for App Insight as well. And then we'll click review and create. And if everything is right, then this service will get created in the matter of 1 to 2 minutes. And while this service is getting deployed, I'll be quickly going through the chat here. All right. Okay. All right. There is a comment from Kunj. Thank you for helping with the question answers, Kunj. I hope Siddharth will give you some bonus points for this one for all the help you're doing.
For sure.
All right, looks like the deployment was successful. So I will not be going to this particular resource. I'll be going back to my previous tab where the Q&A maker portal is open. So I'll be scrolling down. And now I'll be connecting my Q&A service to the knowledge base that I'll be creating. The first thing I'll be doing is click this button called refresh so that this particular page then can retrieve the Q&A maker service we just created. And make sure you have selected correct Microsoft Azure Directory ID in case you're not sure which Azure Directory ID you have to use. So go back to your Azure portal and go to Azure Active Directory. And make sure this name matches that what you see here. In case it does not matches, then you just have to go and click select different tenant here. Then select the correct subscription name, and then once you select that, then the newly created service name should be available to you to select. And if you get this particular error message, that means some backend operations are still not complete. So just wait for a minute or maybe 30 to 60 seconds, and this will be done. So let's click a refresh again. And looks like someone is not muted. So I will definitely encourage if you're not speaking, please mute yourself. So let's select Global AI Bootcamp. All right, perfect. Looks like the service is ready. And here now I can select the languages. So as you can see, the languages are categorized into two parts, chit chat and extraction and only extraction. So what's the difference between these two? So if you go with only extraction, then this particular service is going to extract the content, but it will not add any kind of additional a persona for your knowledge base. Whereas if I go with Spanish, Portuguese, Korean, Japanese, Italian, German, French, English, or Chinese simplified, then I can also have option to specify a specific persona. So for example, let's go with English and let's now create a knowledge base. Now, since we are going through a COVID-19 pandemic, let's create a knowledge base about the pandemic itself. So I'll be creating a COVID-19 FAQs. And let's call it as Global AI Bootcamp Pune. And then this is the most important step here where you would like to populate it. Now, how you would like to populate it? So there are multiple options. You can either upload the files which has information in this format, like either a .tsp, PDF, docx, or Excel file, and you can upload this file from your machine. Or if your information is available in any publicly available website, you can also provide the URLs for that. And you can also support provide multiple URLs at the same time. So what I'll be doing is I'll be going through a US government's health website where they will be having a latest information about COVID-19 pandemic. So the agency that the US government has is called CDC. And this is the page where the majority of they have information about or frequently asked questions about COVID-19 pandemic. So I'll be quickly capturing this URL here. Again, in your case, you can select any publicly available the page where the information is available. So Deepak is saying select language is in gray and not allowing me to select. So most likely the backend services are not still populated. So just wait. What I would recommend you to do, Deepak, is just click refresh this and try this entire operation again. Now here I'll be specifying a URL and then specifying the persona. So by default, none is selected, but you can also specify other persona as well. And whenever you select a different persona apart from none, what this service does is it adds some predefined question and answers. Like it kind of anticipate if you would like to give a friendly experience, then what kind of questions the users will ask and what should be the appropriate response for that. So I'll be going with witty, but one caution I would like to mention here is if you are using this service to demo to your executives in your organization, make sure you go with professional or something else and not witty, because some of the answers that come with witty persona are not, you may not want to show that to your C-level executives. And with that, let's click on create your knowledge base. And it should take maybe a minute or two for a knowledge base to get created. And this is a really good time to ask any questions that you may have. And once, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, there are some questions in the chat window if you like to answer.
I think majority of the questions we have already addressed. I don't see anything new.
We have one new question from
How do you
Jonathan. Yeah,
add? Okay, how do you
intents to
add
Q&A.
intents to the Q&A? Okay, can you elaborate like what? So can you elaborate like what do you mean by intent? Are you referring to uh, the other service which is Lewis, because in Lewis we have the concept of intent. This particular service little works little bit differently. So let me show you the demo of it. Maybe that will clear some of the doubts you have. So now this knowledge base is created, and what this service has done is it has scanned this page, and whatever question answers were there, it will just added those question answers to us in the form of uh, uh, and then in the form of question answer pair, we can edit these questions, we can edit the answer as well. We can also add alternate phrasing. So I highly recommend to add alternate phrasing, because idea here is we are trying to mimic the human behavior, and we as a human we can ask the same question in multiple ways, right? And that's kind of the expectation of your users will be like, if they would like to ask about a PTOs to the bot, they may be asking the same question in multiple ways, and you just have to do those kind of anticipation. And here we'll be saying there are around 330 question answers pairs are, and you can also add your own as well. You can delete the existing as well. And when it comes to the answer, you can use the markdown, and you can also add the images, and you can also add hyperlinks and the emojis as well. Now let's go and towards the end section of this knowledge base and see what are some of the other questions are there. So here you'll be seeing, as I mentioned, since we added VT persona, this knowledge base now has some predefined questions and then some answers to it. Again, you can edit those and you can see the source of it is coming from the TCSV, and that is related to the persona that we have selected. The next thing we'll be doing is we just clicking save and train, and we're basically training this service with this existing Q&A uh, information. And then let's quickly test this out in the Q&A maker portal itself. So for example, if I ask what is COVID-19, and if the service is working as expected, then I should get a response back. If you like what you saw, the next thing you have to do is you have to go and publish this particular knowledge base. Now, again, this operation will take maybe 30 to 60 seconds. And once that is done, then OK. So here I would like to pause, and I would like to make sure you are paying some attention to it, because this page will give you a lot of information that can be really helpful in terms of understanding how exactly this service works. Now here on this particular screen, once we deployed or published this knowledge base, we have a button to create a bot. What does this tell you is, so far we just have created a knowledge base using Q&A maker service. And if you scroll down, we have a sample code available in the form of Postman and in curl. So as I mentioned in the beginning, a cognitive service is nothing but a REST-based API. So same concept is here. This particular Q&A maker service is nothing but a REST-based API. And I can use this Q&A maker service outside of my bot. And this is how I will be using it. So if I launch the Postman right now, and those of you who are not familiar with Postman, Postman is an API testing tool. Oh, looks like we just went to a different screen here. Let me go back. And using Postman, we can do the API testing. So let me quickly copy the name of the host into the Postman so I can make the request. And then let's copy this. And we have to do the post operation. So the operation we selected is as a post. And under the headers, we have to specify the content type, which is application JSON, as you can see here. And under authorization, we have to specify the endpoint URL. I know this session is getting recorded, and I'm exposing my the endpoint and also my key. But don't worry, I'll be deleting this after the session. So And if you have this information, you will not be able to use this service at all. And under the body section, we have to specify the question. And if I click send, and if everything is working right, then I should get a answer from the Q&A maker service, and the answer should be the correct one. So what does this tell you is I don't have to create a bot to use this service. I can use this service in any of my custom .NET application, in my Power App, or in my SVFX web part, or in my Node.js, or in my Angular app as well. Now, if you really want to integrate this service with the bot, then this is the button that you will need to create. Again, someone asked me the question, how exactly we have to integrate AI services with the bot. So this is how you have to do it. So if I click on this button, a new tab will be launched. And again, we are be redirecting to the Azure portal where we'll be creating our bot. And here, a lot of things will be filled automatically for us. And that information is coming from the Q&A maker service that we created. For example, it has used the name of the knowledge base that we have created and just added hyphen bot as a bot handle. But you can change that. The subscription, the resource group, the location, it has automatically selected for us. Pricing tier, again, you can go with F0, but remember, anything free tier, you can use only once per subscription. And this is going to be the URL of your bot. Again, coming back to the earlier point I made is a bot is nothing but a website with different kind of user interface. So this is going to be the URL of your bot, which is the bot handle dot azurewebsite.net. And since we'll be using Azure bot service to host the bot, only languages we can select is C# or Node.js. In this case, I'll be going with C#. And this key for Q&A maker is already added for us automatically. And this is going to be the app service plan. And if I would like to use application insight, I just have to turn it on. And if I click create, then within 30 to 60 seconds, our bot will be created, and that bot will already be integrating with the Q&A maker service in the backend. So while it's happening, let's go back to the question. Okay, Vinay Desai is asking what makes Q&A maker intelligent? If Q&A maker cannot identify a different variation of the question automatically, then how it is intelligent? It is just not a series of, okay, that's a really interesting question. So while this is happening, let's go back. So let's take a look at, let's go back here. Let's click on edit service, but let's take a look at the URL. It's called qnamaker.ai. Now, in the first impression, this particular service does not seem like an intelligent service. However, trust me, like, for example, let me give this example. Okay, this is the question, how does the virus spread? Now let's test this out and ask this question. And while asking this, I'll be doing some mistake in the question. And you can see here, even though I did some basic mistake while asking this question, if this particular service is using a simple if-else statement, then it will be really hard for this service to comprehend what exactly I'm trying to say, right? Because what I did is I omitted the from the question. I misspelled virus. I also misspelled spread, maybe not, but I misspelled the virus here. Now let's ask the same question in a different way. Like, okay, virus spread. And let's see if it's coming back with the answer or not. So again, this time also it came back with the answer. So it has some AI services in the backend. Those AI services may not be saying as sophisticated as some of the other AI services, but this service is a little bit forgiving in the sense like it's okay that you've misspelled something. Still, it's tied to able to comprehend what exactly the question is. And if it finds the question, then it will come back with the answer. Hopefully that answers your question. Now our deployment is done. Let's go back to the resources. So this is our bot inside the Azure portal. And if you look at in the left-hand navigation, I have this option called test in web chat. So if I go here, I can quickly test this bot right in the Azure portal itself. So if I type hello, and let's see how does virus spread? And if everything is right, then the answer should come back. Now, if I go back to, if I browse to the channels, so by default, whenever you deploy a bot, that bot is always available as a web chat. And if you scroll down, these are the list of channels that are available to us where we can deploy the bots. Some of the channels will be free, some of the channels will be featured. That means you have to do some additional work. Now let's go ahead and deploy this bot to the Microsoft Teams. So what I did is I selected on Microsoft Teams, agree to the terms and condition, click save. And after a few seconds, I should be able to access this bot in Microsoft Teams as well. So if I go here now, this bot is available to access in Microsoft Teams. So if I copy this link and if I go back to my other UI here or other session where I am already logged into the Teams, then I should be able to interact with this bot using Microsoft Teams as well. So this is the handle of our bot is, and if I ask hello, and if everything is working right, I should be coming. It should come back with the answer with some greetings, and let's ask how. Okay, this time again I am making some spelling mistake, but let's see if it's able to comprehend that or not. So looks like it is making, the bot is working as expected. It is making the right query to the Q&A maker service, and it's coming back with the answer. Now type in the chat window and just tell me how many lines of code we have written so far, right? So far we have written 0 lines of code. Still, when we were configuring this bot, Microsoft asked us like what kind of language we have to select, we would like to use, whether it's C# or Node.js. Now, if you would like to know the source code and if you would like to implement some additional customization, just click on the overview option here and click on download bot source code. Now what this will do is it will generate the source code that the Azure portal has used to deploy this bot. And depending on what language you have selected, whether it's C# or Node.js, then you have to use the corresponding IDE to open this source code, make changes, and then deploy it back. So once this the zip file is ready, we should be able to download it. So now if I download this, I'll be having the entire source code of this bot. And since I use C#, I'm just downloaded that onto another screen. I'll be just extracting that zip file. And once the project is extracted, I'll be pulling that into this particular screen here. So as you can see, I have extracted the entire source code. And since I use C#, I'll be using Visual Studio to open this particular project. And then I'll be having the entire source code of this bot available to me. And then I can go ahead and start making changes in it. I know we are running a little bit of time. Hopefully, let me quickly run through some things I really wanted to cover before we make a way for Priyanka to start her talk. All right. Someone asked me in the beginning or in the middle of the talk is which one to use between bot framework and PowerVirtual Agent. So I have used both quite extensively, and these are my thoughts in terms of like some of the pros and cons you will see with the bot framework versus the PowerVirtual Agent. So PowerVirtual Agent is really easy to use, whereas if you would like to use bot framework, there is a steep learning curve. You have to get familiar yourself with the bot framework SDK. You need to be a developer, and also you need to integrate other AI services. Just like in this case, in this demo, we integrated Q&A maker survey. Just like that, if you would like to integrate other AI services, like say Ulois and other stuff, you have to do those integration yourself. There is no inbuilt support for analytics is there. You need to use App Insight. All these things are already available to us in PowerVirtual Agent. Now, there's a major difference and that major difference is with the cost. So PowerVirtual Agent is the SaaS offering and the standalone version of the product, which has all the required features, is a little bit pricey to begin with. However, there's a free version of it available as part of Dataverse for Teams. However, just like with any free version, it will have some its own limitations. If you go with Microsoft Bot Framework, a little bit inexpensive to begin with. However, you need to factor into the cost for a lot of other things. For example, where you're going to host the bot, what are some of the AI services you will be using. Then you have to do the math and find out how much the expected cost for all these hosting and other AI services will be. Uh, these are my again opinion. If I had to categorize these two products under various criteria when it comes to the licensing, governance, power user friendly, developer friendly, integration with third party system. These are my opinions. So overall, both the products are really good. It all depends on your skill set and depending on your budget. So these are some of the lessons learned from the various bots rollout we have done over the years. So when it comes to implementing any kind of virtual agent or bot, make sure you try to use as many AI services as possible, because the idea is to mimic the actual human conversation that with the bot. And when it comes to rolling out chatbots, you should be setting a clear-cut expectations, not only with your users, but with your stakeholders as well. That this is not a quote unquote replacement of your human agents. There will be a lot of scenarios where the bot will not be able to handle those complex scenarios. And the reason for it, the AI services that we currently have does not really are that intelligent to handle those complex scenarios. Start slow. Bot development is fairly new. So if you have a really big goal, start with small goals. Make sure you do that first. Let's say you would like to launch a bot which can take care of 5 different things, then start with the one which is the smallest thing. See how exactly it goes. See the response from the users, and also you will learn along the journey as well. And analytics is very important for continuous improvement. Use telemetry to gain as much insights as possible. And always have a capability in your bot to transfer to the human agent. Now, there are a lot of sophisticated services available. There are some third-party tools available. There are some Microsoft services available. For example, you can use Azure Communication Services to have a direct voice call from a custom bot. If you're using PowerVirtual Agent, you can use Dynamics Omnichannel. There are some third-party options available as well. In case you don't want to use any of this fancy application, you can do a simple email as well, where if the bot is not able to handle any complicated scenario, you just assist the user in sending the email to appropriate a department, or you just assist the user to create a ticket in your current ticketing system. And it's always good to have a fusion team where you have fusion of tools and skills, where you have a combination of pro developers and low code developers. And always remember, technology tool does not matter. What kind of problem you're solving matters the most. Now, these are my personal opinion. I always recommend, since Power Virtual Agent is a SaaS offering, and majority of the CTOs or CIOs would like to use SaaS products. If you see the trend in the industry, pretty much everyone is moving towards the SaaS products. So I recommend to start with Power Virtual Agents for some reason, because of the cost or any other or maybe the product limitation. If you cannot use Power Virtual Agent, then go with Microsoft Bot Framework. And again, when you are going with Microsoft Bot Framework, recommendation is you use Azure Bot Service. But if you cannot use that, then go with VMs or on-premise servers. Now, if you would like to get your hands dirty with Power Virtual Agent, there's a really good program available from Microsoft called Microsoft 365 Developer Program, where if you go to this link, you can sign up for this program for free. And via this program, you get personal Microsoft 365 subscription for free. That subscription comes with e-file licenses for 25 users, and it is valid for 90 days. And after 90 days, if Microsoft finds that you are using this for personal training and development, Microsoft will graciously increase your trial period for additional 90 days, and they will keep on doing it as long as this program is active and you are not violating the licensing terms. You will be a global admin in this tenant, and this tenant will have Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, Teams, all the Power Platform products like Power Automate, Power Apps, and you can also sign up for the trial version of Power Virtual Agent. Now, to use Azure or to use cognitive services or to use Azure Bot Service, you will need Azure subscription. And these are various ways you can get personal Azure subscription for free. Recommendation is if you have MSDN access, then go to your MSDN portal and activate your Azure credits. You can also sign up for free trial, or there is another program from Microsoft called Azure for Students, where depending on your school and country, you get some free predefined credits for free. So hopefully the contents we covered today made you excited about the bots. And with that, sorry, I went over almost by 7 minutes. If you have any questions, post them in the chat window. And these are my contact details if you, in case you would like to get in touch with me. With that, thanks for joining us today. Stay safe and stay healthy. And I'll be stop sharing my screen so Priyanka can go ahead and start with the session. And in the meantime, I'll be answering the question in the chat window.